Stop destruction of our Commonwealth, Nigerian ministers plead. National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) commences multiple indicator cluster survey. Oil falls again amid concerns over demand rebound. African Airlines Association (AFRA) says African carriers record $10.2 billion passenger revenue loss. Asia Pacific stocks mixed as Japan's economy shrinks less than expected in the first quarter. Details of these and more on Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we're reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Leah Katung Babatunde. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the destruction of public infrastructure and facilities is not just vandalism, it is a form of terrorism. Lai Mohammed said this during the town hall meeting on public infrastructure organized by the Ministry of Information and Culture in Abuja.
In recent times, efforts of the government have been thwarted by some unpatriotic citizens through wanton destruction of critical infrastructure, thereby depriving the greater citizenry for whose benefits these projects and services are provided from enjoying them. Railway tracks have been subjected to wanton destruction. Bridge railings are being removed. Manhole covers are being pilfered. Street lights and other power infrastructure, oil pipeline, telecoms facilities, and critical aviation infrastructure have been damaged or stolen.
The whole of Northern District, 10. The whole of Northeastern District, that's where we have the worst case. No, not there. North Central is the worst case. Northeastern District, you have 43. North Central District, where you have Jos and all those people, you have 50. Eastern District, you have 36. Abuja to Kaduna, 13. That's worse. What they do in Abuja to Kaduna is they're not cutting off the track. They're stealing what they call that pin. There's a pin used to hold this thing down. So we have changed up to 10,000 of those things. You have to make sure every day before the train runs, we have to walk all that track to make sure that the track is safe.
Similarly, Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Raji Fashola has appealed to those vandalizing government properties in the country to desist from doing so. The minister, who made the appeal during his presentation at the town hall meeting, added that no nation grows beyond its capacity of its infrastructure, lamented the level of damage and vandalization of public properties in the nation.
No nation grows beyond the capacity of its infrastructure. So every little one that we have, we must optimize it.
A tankerous individual decided to just go and demolish our fence and allow the airport to be so bare. And of course, we decided to show him how not to willfully damage public infrastructure. Because of wind shear, which is the sudden change of direction and speed of air, we had the Sosoluso crash. Everybody knew what happened. Those equipment that are to tell us that there's wind shear on this runway and we should avoid it for the next 10 minutes are being vandalized. So it's another Sosoluso waiting to happen if they continue.
A multiple indicator cluster survey, the largest source of statistically sound and internationally comparable data on women and children worldwide, has kicked off in Nigeria. A statement by Ichedi Sunday Joel, head of Public Affairs and International Relations Unit of the National Bureau of Statistics, said the Bureau survey is in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF and has commenced the process of data collection, starting with the training of trainers workshop in Lagos on the 9th of June 2021. Immediately after the workshop, some selected trainers will be sent to 4 states, namely Anambra, Kano, Plateau and Oyo, to conduct the pre-test exercise. The survey focuses on issues such as health, education, child protection, water and sanitation, amongst others, and also serves as a major source of data in measuring achievements of some of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and other international commitments. The 4th Nigerian International Petroleum Summit, the African Petroleum Technology and Business Conference, is resolved to turn the global crisis occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic to opportunities. The theme of the summit, From Crisis to Opportunities, New Approaches to the Future of Hydrocarbons, key players say is indicative that though it cannot be business as usual, collaborations and innovations to align with the best of producers to stay afloat cannot be compromised. To this effect, President Muhammadu Buhari gave a commitment to make Nigeria a credible investment destination. Lydia Sampson reports.
The global energy mix is changing with more focus on climate-friendly, clean and cheaper energy. Nigeria is resolved to key into the transition to renewables, with many sponsors cautious about investing in fossil fuel. Key players say collaboration to harness and reduce production costs for sustained transition is the way to go.
The pandemic has provided a lot of opportunities for us to look inwards, and what we are saying, for example, in the local content front, we expect that we will begin to look at opportunities for developing our local capacity because of what the pandemic did to us.
Today, the whole world is transiting towards more renewables, and energy companies must see that opportunities, both in terms of producing the current resources and also moving to new resources, renewables, solar, wind, and other resources that are available. But for us, most importantly, the world will still be utilizing gas for a long time to come.
We need to use our natural resources to transit into the renewables. You cannot abandon the natural resources and then all of a sudden you wake up to renewable discussion.
There is huge opportunity for decade of gas. Growth for our economy, increase for GDP, creation of job, elimination of poverty, energy security, and so many other things.
For these projections to yield needed results, the fiscal environment must be made right, and President of the Senate says the PIB will be passed in June.
We are very hopeful that we will be able to pass it this month of June. And I want to appreciate the cooperation and partnership between the two arms of government, the legislature and the executive arm. We have been able to really cement the relationship so that we are able to work together seamlessly.
International oil and gas organizations commended Nigeria's ability to not just stay afloat despite the devastation of the COVID-19, but also taking investment decisions for critical projects.
That we are determined to build on the progress achieved thus far and do what we can to continue to contribute to stability in the oil market on a sustainable basis.
Participants are unanimous that the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, being the first physical summit in the oil and gas industry since the COVID-19 pandemic, is indicative that the world is gradually reopening as vaccinations continue to mitigate COVID-19.
Meanwhile, oil prices lost more ground on Tuesday as concerns about the fragile state of the global recovery in demand for crude and fuels were heightened by data showing China's oil imports fell in May. Brent crude was down 11 cents at $71.38 a barrel after declining 0.6% overnight. U.S. oil was off by 13 cents to $69.10 a barrel, having dropped by 0.6% in the previous session. Let's now take a trip to the commodities markets. Now, wheat is a food commodity that has a fundamental food and nutritional position in Nigerian homes. Let us take this report on government's plan to make Nigeria self-sufficient in wheat production.
Statistics have shown that Nigeria spends $4.6 billion on the importation of wheat annually. This, experts say, is despite the capacity to meet its entire wheat demand and even export surplus. It was in recognition of this and its resolve to diversify income of the country away from oil to agriculture and other sectors that the Buhari administration comes up with intervention programs towards encouraging all year-round production of food and cash crops. With the support given to farmers, thousands of hectares of land in Kano and some northern states are now covered by maturing wheat plants.
It is competing against rice, is competing against maize, is competing against other vegetables. So obviously, the space is very narrow unless we expand it.
Now, when the price of an item or product is not determined by market forces but by a union of producers, then price fixing has its grey area in the ease of doing business for most governments, as it gives the curtail power over a product. Now, is Nigeria's bread price hike as a result of price fixing? Or if the increased price of raw materials, especially wheat, could be linked to the Central Bank of Nigeria's recently announced plan to place sugar and wheat on its forex restriction list. National President Wheat Farmers Association of Nigeria, Salim Mohammed, joins us from Kano and will be providing answers to these questions. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Salim. Yes, the CBN is planning to ban importation of wheat, but what is the current demand and supply chain of the produce like?
Okay, Wheat Farmers Association is the largest producer of wheat in Nigeria, operating in 16 states with a minimum of 1 million farmers registered. So you see from this direction, that we have a large number of farmers that can participate into wheat production. Having heard that CBN is going to restrict forex exchange, is a very good news to us, but we have to tighten our belts, put the matter on a drawing table, see how we can meet the demand gap.
Okay, now in meeting this demand gap, what are the plans you have? Because already bread in Abuja, for instance, in fact, it's very scarce on the shelves of most stores.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Great.
It has to be very scarce, it has to be very short, because for the last 2 years, the association does not produce enough wheat, because of the, we do not receive any funding from CBN upon all the efforts we make. And this brought about low quantity available in the market of locally produced wheat. This also attributed to the high purchase cost from 18,000, that is 180,000 per metric ton of wheat grain, to 350,000 naira per metric ton currently now. So, and however, the volume wheat domination by the Flour Millers Association is not available as demanded due to COVID-19 pandemic. So you see, this has greatly affected the wheat supply chain in the country, and because of that scarcity of the wheat produce, definitely there should be a higher cost of purchase, and at the end of the time, the output, by flour sales from the Flour Millers Association, the processors of the bread are getting the product at a very high cost. That's why the bread price must increase. So we at the association level, having had this situation, are planning now to engage 1,200,000 farmers into production this season. That is our plan.
The rains have started. How will this your plan work?
No. Wheat is not a wet season.
Yes.
It is dry season activity. We still have time.
Okay.
We have follow our calendars to go into the farming activity.
So in how many years do you think Nigeria can be self-sufficient?
If the CBN will rightly fund the association with 1,200,000 farmers at expected average production yield of 3 tons per ton, you are about 1,600,000 metric tons, which is almost half the demand chain. by the mills in the country. So in the next 2 seasons, that is 2 years, definitely if we do not meet up the whole total demand of importation in the country, we will reach not more than 80-90% of supply.
Okay. Okay, now Nigerians and master bakers are complaining about scarcity and high cost of flour. Are millers ready to work with you people to produce and, of course, offtake what you are producing?
Yes, we have already signed an MOU between us and the flour millers.
Fantastic.
Public of our locally produced wheat. The only area where we are having a problem is the setting up of the price. That's why in this vein, in our plan this season, we will emphasize an advocacy that the government should give a subsidy at the harvest period, not before the harvest period, at the harvest period, so that if we have a guaranteed minimum price, it will stabilize the offtake price and the market prevailing price.
Okay, now before I let you go, there is this fear of sabotage from within and outside the country. How prepared is Nigeria to address this?
Well, this depends on the policy that the government has set up. If the government is consistent on the policy of banning the import of the material, 2, supporting the association with very good funding at a good time, 3, making sure that there is a guaranteed minimum price or subsidy at the harvest period, definitely that politics will be out of the system.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Salim Mohammed, for joining us this morning. He is a national president with Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do have a nice one. Next in our Surviving COVID-19 series is a young entrepreneur who COVID-19 pandemic has further made to renew his determination to succeed in his point-of-sale business, as well as explore options including federal government interventions for small and medium enterprises.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
I'm a POS personnel. I do provide POS service, withdrawal and deposit for my customers. COVID-19 affected my business in the sense that the patronage dropped for up to 50% because people complained that they have no money in their accounts, deposits were reduced drastically. And it affected us because we cannot pay our employees, but sometimes we find it difficult to pay them salary. It's picking up gradually because you see there's a lot of free movement now. People go their way, people do their businesses. Some people earn daily salaries, and most of this money are paid into their account. Most of them come to us with POS withdrawal. So our sales is picking up again. But any other financial assistance to go along with it, just like we are talking about COVID-19, no business coming in, so therefore the rate of withdrawal and rate of deposit was reduced. So this money will help us, it will help me go a long way. Nothing in life is static. You understand? Nothing is stable. You know, this COVID has taught us to adjust to life. It has taught us a lesson that nothing is stable in life. You know, as things come, you find a way to adjust. You maneuver it and get back to your feet and move on.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The Office of the Auditor General for the Federation has opened a forensic laboratory and successfully trained the first batch of forensic auditors and examiners for ministries, departments and agencies. The digital lab, which is the first of its kind, leverages technology for automation and evidence-based data management for proper accountability. It also gives real-time access to files across MDAs for the purpose of audit, with 21 forensic auditors already trained. Auditor General for the Federation, Agugu Adolphus Homeda, says the auditors would resume in ministries, departments and agencies next week.
You want to get an answer with evidence that will even stand prosecution, court prosecution. You look in the direction of forensic auditing. It is not only just audit evidence for the National Assembly. It is equally evidence that could be gathered and tabled for prosecution of culprits.
The project has so far gulped 74 million naira since it began in 2017, and the Auditor General is optimistic it will transform the nation's audit system in line with global best practices and the changing times. The US dollar was subdued on Tuesday as investors looked to US inflation data due later in the week after softer than expected jobs data quelled expectations of an early tapering in the Federal Reserve stimulus. Let's now see how much the naira is exchanging for the currencies. The African Airlines Association, AFRA, has released its 2020 Africa Air Transport Report indicating that carriers on the continent recorded an estimated $10.21 billion passenger revenue loss in the year 2020. The report gave an in-depth analysis of Africa's air transport industry performance for 2020, covering financial performance, passenger and cargo traffic evolution, airport ranking, intra-Africa connectivity and openness. The report said 2020 was an exceptionally difficult year in history, with the travel industry severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The estimated passenger revenue loss for Africa Airlines last year is $10.21 billion. The number of scheduled passengers carried by African Airlines dropped from 95 million in 2019 to 34.7 million in 2020, representing a yearly decline of 63.7%. Now, stocks have been subdued in Nigeria, and away from home Asia Pacific stocks have also been mixed. Japan's economy shrinks less than expected in the first quarter. Bosde Abel is our guide.
On the stock market, investors around the world remain focused on the release of key U.S. inflation data on Thursday. Asia stocks reversed early gains on Tuesday. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index declined 0.33%. China's benchmark index dropped more than 0.69%, weighed down by liquor makers, and the Nikkei also dipped 0.19%. European stocks opened higher on Tuesday as investors look ahead to Eurozone growth and employment data for the first quarter. FTSE futures were down 0.12%, pointing to a subdued start for European markets. U.S. stock futures are little changed in early morning trading Tuesday after the Dow and S&P 500 both started the week lower. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 25 points, while the S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures both traded in mildly positive territory. Stocks on the African continent are yet to post numbers this morning, but are also expectant of the release of key U.S. inflation data. Bosde Abel, Business Express.
And of course, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. The program returns tomorrow, Wednesday at 3 p.m. I am Leah Katun Babatunde saying do have a nice day ahead.